Hello, today is June 14th, 2020. My name is Jessica Taylor. I'm interviewing, your name please.
Brigitte, my full name is Brigitte Sanchez Robayo.
Okay. For the Latino Oral History Project / Voces of a Pandemic Project at Special Collections and University Archives at Virginia Tech. This project is in partnership with the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. Please know that this interview will be placed in the Special Collections and University Archives at Virginia Tech and shared with the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. If there is anything you do not wish to answer or talk about, I will honor your wishes. Also, if there is something you want to talk about, please bring it up and we'll talk about it. Because we are not conducting this interview in person, I need to record you consenting. So I'll ask you a series of 6 questions. Please say yes, I agree, or no, I do not agree after each one. There are several questions we need to make sure you agree to before we go on. Special Collections and University Archives wishes to archive your interview along with any other photographs and other documentation at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech will retain copyright of the interview and any other materials you wish to donate to Virginia Tech. Do you give Special Collections and University Archives consent to archive your interview and your materials at Virginia Tech?
Yes, I agree.
Do you grant Virginia Tech right, title, and interest in copyright over the interview and any materials you provide?
Yes, I agree.
Do you agree to allow Special Collections and University Archives to post this interview on the internet where it may be viewed by people around the world?
Yes, I agree.
Do you grant Virginia Tech consent to share your interview and your materials with the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin for inclusion in the Voces of a Pandemic Oral History Mini Project, which will include posting the interview on the internet?
Yes, I agree.
We have many questions in a pre-interview form that we have already filled out. We use that information from the pre-interview form to help in research. The entire form is kept in a secure Voces server at the University of Texas at Austin. Before Virginia Tech sends it to Newman Libraries, we would have stripped out any contact information for yourself or family members, so that will not be part of your public file. Your public file will only be accessible at the Newman Libraries. Do you wish for us to share the rest of your interview in your public file available to researchers at Newman Libraries?
Sorry, let me see if I understood. If I agree to share the interview in the Newman Libraries?
The information provided in the pre-interview form that will be stripped out of contact information.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. On occasion, Special Collections and University Archives and Voces receive requests from journalists who wish to contact our interview subjects. We only deal with legitimate news outlets. Do you give consent for us to share your phone numbers or emails with journalists?
Yes, I agree.
Okay. If you change your mind, let me know.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to go on to the questions here. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience with COVID-19?
About my experience in which sense? Any sense?
Well, can you tell me how you first learned about COVID-19?
How first I learned? For the news, I start listening in, I think that was last year, like in January, February, I start listening about the virus in China, that become growing and growing. And then I listen how that becomes a pandemic, was according to the amount of people who got it becomes a pandemic, and then how it starts spreading out. But the first time that I listened about COVID was in the news.
Where were you getting your news at the time?
uh, in my smart speaker here in my living room, I have a Google Home, and it has the option that when you say good morning, it'll tell you, "Hey, Bridget, how are you? It's that time. Is the weather is this one?" And then tells you like the main news of the day and the things that the smart speaker considers you need to know for the day. So I hear that news in the smart speaker.
Wow, that's really interesting. Um, what was your initial reaction to hearing that news?
At the beginning, it's like, how to say, it's like it's something that is happening in another country. So it's like you think, oh my God, that is terrible. I hope everyone is okay. But honestly, I didn't feel like sad or worry or even think that how to say that can like have any kind of relationship with me at any point, or that will affect me at some point. I never thought about that. It's like when you hear that something happens in other country, something sad, so you think about the people, you hope that the people is fine, but actually you don't have any close feeling, about yourself, because I never thought that it will be like affecting, so much. So it was like, I don't know how to say, like maybe like any other kind of sad news from different countries. So
Well, when did you realize that it was going to be close, that it was going to affect you?
when I start listening that the virus spread out in that way, spread out in that way, that they start going to different countries, and then that arrive United States, you know, and that goes to different countries, then I start thinking, oh, maybe that this could affect me as well and could affect my family. My family is in Colombia. So, but when you hear that it's spreading out around different countries, then you know that you have, maybe it's a small, but there is the possibility that that can affect you and your relatives.
What was your family's reaction, both here and in Colombia?
They were like, that depends on the age. Like my cousin and the younger people were not so worried about that. They were like, do you hear about this? And that was all bad. Like my mom, my uncles, they were like, have you heard about that virus? Oh my God. Like, oh my God, like just pray for, so for us to be good because that is dangerous and that kind of things. They were just like a little worry that don't affect, the people so much that doesn't arrive to Colombia, for instance. And when they start listening, for instance, that here in United States, the numbers were growing and growing and growing. They tell us like, be really careful because I have heard that the situation in United States is very bad. So please be careful outside, don't go out, just use the face mask, that kind of things. So yeah, but mostly like the older people.
How did the pandemic affect your family in Colombia?
The ones that are in Colombia, my mom and my younger sister, they got the virus. They got COVID and on December last year. So we were really worried, particularly because of my mom, because my mom has, how to say, she has, for instance, she suffered of the heart, she has low pressure, those, she had, I don't know, comorbidity, I don't know, she has some illness like the blood pressure situation. So, and she's older, so she could be like affected very, very bad, in very bad way. So we were worried about her when she got the virus in December, and my younger sister, but thankfully they didn't go to the hospital. They were just at home all the time. My mom had a very bad time for the breathing situation, and it was sad because she had to separate from my dad from the room, because it was curious. My dad didn't get it. My mom got it, but my dad didn't get it. And they live together. They sleep together, But my dad was fine. He, of course, he tested, but he was negative. But when my mom had the first, like intuitions that she got the virus, when she started feeling like not so good, she just say my dad that she wants that she was like suspiciously feeling that maybe she got the virus, so she asked my dad to go to a different room and take distance and everything. So that was sad for my dad because my dad is used to sleep with my mom, so he couldn't sleep, alone in a different room. So it was sad for him, and he's old. So, and he had to take care of my sister and my mom because they both got the virus at the same time. They live together, but different rooms. So it was sad for that. I have an uncle who is even older, and she has breath problems. So she didn't go out, She always asked for deliveries, and when she go out, it was just herself. So it was hard for them, in particular, to be isolated, to don't go out, because my family is very active people. So to stay at home in Colombia, they at the beginning in particular, they did a lot of quarantines in the capital in Bogota, when my family is living right now. And my family, my mom, my uncles, they are teachers, so they like to be with people, and they are very active. So being isolated and at home all the time for them is like a nightmare. So at the beginning they were fine, but later their mood become not so good, became not good. So it was hard for them at the beginning, because the quarantine started on the first semester of last year. So when the quarantine started and everything, they become, after sometimes, like upset very easy and that kind of things because of the isolation. And later on December, it was more worried because my mom got the virus and my sister. So it was more like a worried situation because of that. Yeah.
When you said that your father was taking care of your mother and sister, what did that look like? What was he doing for them?
They were cooking. He was cooking for them, and for instance, he was the one who cooked, but he put the food in plates, for instance, and then they put a small table in the entrance of the room. So he put, for instance, the plate, and my mom just moved away from the entrance, and my sister did the same. So my dad, like, put the food in the table, and he goes away, and then my mom took the plate, that kind of things, and she ate, and then she put a lot of alcohol in the plate, and then my dad had gloves. So with the gloves, he took the plate, he cleaned it with alcohol and everything. So he cooked it, he bought everything. If they need, for instance, in particular, my mom, she got some fever, so he bought the medication and gave it in the same way that the food, gave it to her. He was the one who made the cleaning all the time. What else? They talk, but not like in distance. Like, what do you do? Whatever, that kind of things, because they live. The three of them live together. So if my dad was sick, there were nobody to go out and to do everything. So he was always attending them by cooking and what else, like giving medication. That's why I said that fortunately my mom, who is the one who was more in risk, she didn't have to go to the hospital, because in that moment maybe they will have to be closer, to get her to the hospital and everything. So, but it was just the medication, the food, the drinking, the drinks as well. Um, I don't know, and I don't know what else. And we since here, for instance, I asked a friend to buy fruits and vegetables in Colombia, and some kind of plants that we have to increase the defensive, the immune system. So I asked a friend, I sent him some money and asked him to make like like big purchase for my family, and he bring it to the house, and my dad was the one who, but he just leave it, as well in the door, and my dad was the one who put a lot of alcohol and take it, and that kind of things. He's the one who have it, cook it and give them, and made, for instance, the water with the plants and everything, and gave them all the things to them. Yeah. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, that was perfect.
Okay.
Uh, you mentioned plants that help with amino response.
That helps to increase the immune system.
What plants would that be?
I remember one that I mentioned, moringa. I didn't know even that that plant exists, but last year on April, when the COVID was there, nobody got it. But my mom says, you can find moringa. Moringa is really well for that, and that kind of things. So they had, so they asked me for that. So because I listen, and yeah, moringa is used in different parts from Colombia to increase the immune system. So um, that was one moringa, and I don't remember. I just remember fruits and vegetables in general. I remember that at the time we select some specific, like for instance, orange, the ones that has high vitamin C, and vegetables as well. But the plants in this moment, I just remember moringa. Yeah.
What was it like for you to try to communicate with your family during this time?
Could you repeat the beginning of the question?
Yeah, what was it like for you to communicate with your family while all this was happening?
Why, when my mom got the virus, or like all this year?
Well, all this year, but the virus as well, I'm sure changed things.
Yeah. Okay. Because they are in Colombia and I am here. You know, how to say, the communication way was the same as before, because I am here in United States. So we always communicate by WhatsApp. We made video calls in the family and communicating that way. That was before the COVID. With COVID was the same way of communication, because even when my mom was in her room, for instance, alone when she got sick, she can use her cell phone. The difference is that she become tired very, very fast. So before we talk with all the family like 2 hours, this time after 20 minutes she was like, and she was like, I am so tired, and then she has to just leave the meeting, because she just get tired very fast. That was the difference, but the way of communication was the same by WhatsApp. Maybe another difference is that I couldn't travel to Colombia, because of the situation. So I couldn't travel. Before, I will travel, but I don't travel so much. So, but if I had the opportunity, I travel. So this time I couldn't. That is the difference in communication by video, by the video calling. My mom got sick when she was sick. When she was fine, the communication, I would say that maybe even was higher, because all of us were in our homes. And before the pandemic, sometimes like people were working, so they didn't arrive at home to connect to the others. But at these times, everyone were in their homes. so they can connect on time and they can stay there more time, so even we spend more time in our meetings sometimes. But it was by WhatsApp. The different maybe within different members of my family were between my family members who were all in Colombia, because before they were to visit, you know, the relatives, but this times all of them were by WhatsApp. So that was the different, but and that makes the communication different online than face to face. But that is how we communicate and how I communicate. When I knew that my mom was sick, I just called every day, every day, and asked how was she and everything. So and how was my sister, and asking what they will need. And as I told you, for instance, I searched for someone who can help me since then, from there, from Colombia, to provide something to my family, and yeah, that kind of things.
How did it affect you to not be able to travel?
It affected me a lot because I couldn't see my family. And for me, that is like, that energizes me to eat like my food and to be with my friends, with my family. So that was a little hard. It was not like, how to say, like, oh my god, I will kill myself or something like that. No, but it was sad. I had to fortunately, okay, not fortunately, but in the middle of the conditions, the situation, that it was like every day you were listening about the situation and how it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, that prepares like your mind and yourself that that situation could happen. So that helped me to prepare myself to think that, for instance, in some point, that maybe I will not able to travel, that there is this possibility. Then that possibility becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. So I prepare myself, I don't know how to say, like mentally, psychologically, that I will be here and I can't see, and I will not can see could see my family. So that helped me a lot. And I think that another thing that helped me is that, because I am doing my PhD, I am very busy. So sometimes when I go, it's like I felt guilty because I have a lot of work to do, and when I go there, I don't work. I can't, it's very difficult to me to work, so I don't do anything. So then that helps me also, like, to don't think, I don't know how to say, like, okay, but I have to do this, so I can use the time, like try to find the positive things of the situation. So that helps me, like, to prepare mentally that I will not be there, that I cannot travel. So, but still not see my family and don't have this possibility of traveling was hard, because I didn't get the energy that usually I get when I go there. So yeah.
Do you have family here?
I have my cousin here, but here in United States, she lives in a different state.
So, how did COVID affect you, especially as you're trying to pursue your PhD?
Um, when they start asking the people to be in quarantine and isolated, I remember that I used to say to my family, I realized that my lifestyle is called quarantine because I don't feel so much that I couldn't go out. I was here in front of my computer working. I go out because I have a dog. So I have to go out for my dog, for her, to let her exercise and walk. And that is very helpful for me as well, because that'll give me a reason to see different scenarios, to breathe. So, but that, how to say, that diary dynamic didn't change so much, because it was the same, like me in the computer and going out just with my dog. The difference maybe was, I think that the big difference is because I am Latin, here they used to do some Latin parties, and I love dancing. I love to dance. So usually I go to those parties and dance. Of course, because of COVID, there were no more parties. So, and I missed that a lot. I try to stay in contact with my close friends who were Latin, even some Colombians as well. So I still keep in contact with them, talking to them, even meeting with them. Even I have a friend, German friend who lives here, and we used to go out. She has another friend, another dog, and her dog and my dog became friends, and that's how we met because of our dogs. They become, and then we start like just talking a lot, walking a lot while the dogs just play and are there. So I continue, and she is very, how to say, she doesn't have contact with so much people as well. So then we try to keep on contact, keeping our distance, and but we still try to do the same. I try to have my closest friends still some contact and just do the same, the computer and everything. But what I miss more maybe were the parties, because that was the spaces when I can go and spend a lot of energy doing something completely different than studying, But most of the time I am here in front of the computer, just me. So then I didn't feel it, how to say, it was not so hard for me. Maybe the Paris and can't travel to Colombia was the, and maybe economically as well, because I didn't receive all the salary that I usually received. So I have to pay, I have to complete for the rent and for everything from my how to say, from my savings. So that affects me economically, financially a lot. I struggle a bit. Yeah. But yeah.
How did you cope with the changes in salary over the last year? Like, what strategies did you use to make it less of a problem?
I like to save money. I like to have money in case I have an emergency or something like that. So I had savings first. And second, commonly I don't know how to say, but very serious with money. So I asked for a loan to a friend and I got it. So between the loan and my savings, I could cover the rent and my dog's food and everything without, how to say, without being starving or something like that. Like just having, and I try always to to buy just the things that I need. I try to don't go to restaurants and just cook that kind of things. So to, how to say, to maximize the money that I have. So in particular, it was a combination between those two, like my savings and the loan. So I could cover everything. The issues that my savings, that means that I didn't have more savings. So I start having savings again with was is hard, but it's more like how to say, the dynamic of spending money and try to see how I spend the money. For instance, I realize that I spend a lot of money of food, even when I don't go to restaurants. I eat a lot, so I spend a lot of money in food. So I have to take care of that. Like, okay, minimize that and that kind of things. So like I put all my expenses in a list and write what is this. And every day when I bought something, for instance, I write it in a table. Okay, this is, and then when I realized, I used to do that before, uh, but when I could save money easier, I didn't do it. But now, because I had to be more careful, I did that, and then I realized, okay, I don't need this, I don't need this. So, for instance, I used to spend some money in treats for my dog. You know, so I haven't bought her any treat since last year. I gave her one treat like once per week. I still have some, so I just like try to extend that most if I can treats to don't have to buy another treat. So that was that's the kind of expenses that I said. Okay, I used to buy it. I used to buy her some treats, but I said, you don't need treats. You know, it's not, you need food, you need your vaccinations, you know, you need that kind of things, but you don't need treats. It's not a necessity, you know, so no more treats for you. And I did the same for with me, you know, like I don't need this, I don't need to buy this, like a blues or something like that. I have clothes, so don't buy this, don't buy this, don't buy this. That kind of I did that kind of things to just like have like the what you need, you know. For instance, food. Then I need food. I need to buy, how to say that, like things for cleaning, you know, because I will not live like dirty. So I need to buy things for the cleaning the apartment. So that kind of things is how I organize and manage like the money.
Definitely. In terms of your PhD, has COVID changed the track or the timing of how grad school is going for you?
Could you say again? Sorry.
Yeah. Did COVID change anything about your education itself?
Okay. The classes become online. Before were face to face, and now they are online. I think that makes more work for the professors because it's not the same. You have to learn how to use the platforms, for instance, to create the breakout rooms. You know, that kind of things. So that makes more work for them. But the it was not face to face. Maybe that makes something different because you don't have, but it's like the same situation with the family, you know, like you don't have human contact. Even it's different to talk, you and me, it's like the feeling is different than here in face of a screen. So it's more, I will say that maybe it's more the human contact that we don't have, because in terms of the academic it was the same, you know, we continue reading and writing as before. The quality continues being the same, you know. So, and they professors try to do their best in the conditions that we had. So in that terms it was the same, different to me more in terms of my assistantship, because I used to go to schools to observe teachers in this time, because classes were online, the observations were online as well, and that makes a lot of work for my students, because it's different to do a class with adults, with PhD students that they know, you know, it's like it's different than to do class with teenagers. And you can ask to the you can't, like, you can't mandate to any people to turn on the camera, you know, in a class. But for adults, you can tell them, you know, I like to see your faces and everything. And then the adults will turn on the camera, you know, without big deal. Or is what I think commonly, you know, and more in a PhD environment. But in the school, you can say the same to the teenagers, but they still will not turn on the camera. So you are as a teacher, you don't know, in fact, if you have your students in there. That is that is hard. So, but in terms of my, you know, my graduate process, it was I think that it was more for the assistantship, because even starting observing a class online was a complete learning to me, a complete learning to my students, to everyone. So that changed everything. That changed even the kind of recommendations that I gave to my students, because I used to give a lot of like classroom management, like look the people to their faces, you know, like try to hear, like have eyes in different places, try to engage participation, that kind of things, but in an online environment that is completely different. So I will say that maybe that changed more in that way, you know. But in my classes, I think quality was the same, more the contact. Before the pandemic, the classes were face to face, but also the kind of how to say task, the kind of like homework that we had were also reading in the computer and writing papers and sending the papers via email. That was the same, you know. That was the same kind of situation. The participation in the class were online, and the professors still try to encourage us to interact through breaking rooms to participate. So that was the same. Maybe some situations when you have technological issues, like the internet is not working good, then you lose part of the class, or you are outside, or for instance, in some classes when my computer was just there, like thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking, and you are like there, like the class started, I have to go, you know, and the computer is there just thinking and thinking and thinking. That kind of things affect you, like, you know, to go to a class. Or for instance, my computer is small, and that happened to me. I think that was in fall. My computer, I had another computer, and it was very small, very slow, very slow. So the professor said, okay, please answer these questions to me just at the end of the class, you know. And he gave us some time for that. So the questions were in Canvas. We had to download the paper and just answer the questions. It's not like big deal. And the questions were not the questions. It was just some kind of assessment that he did for his class. Something so even very nice. So he was okay. Go to Canvas and just do it. And I went to Canvas, and my computer was there. And the people, and then I started downloading the wallpaper, and the people started saying, done, thank you very much, bye. And people say, bye, bye. And I was there just downloading the wallpaper, you know. And because English is my second language, I am also very slow writing as well. So I think, but I write, but I have to read the same phrase to check my spelling, my grammar, and that kind of things. So the paper was downloading, and it was just another person and me in the class, because everyone was okay, so thank you, bye, 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 and I had another class. So that kind of situation is not stressful, because the professor say, okay, just send me when you complete it, you know. But even when the professor says that, you feel a little stress, you know, because it's like, and you are there like without doing anything, just waiting, like, okay, come on, do it, and just looking, and you try to do something else, but no, just you have to wait for the paper to download, and then can complete it, and then submit the paper. You know, it's another part of the story. So that's the issue. Maybe, you know, the when you have technological issues, sometimes it was rainy, and then the signal is the Wi-Fi is not so good. But in general terms, I didn't have that kind of problem. It was sometimes, and also because my computer was very slow. So that maybe if I was online, or if I was face to face, we also used to work with laptops, you know, inside the classroom. So maybe I will have the same situation with my slow computer in the classroom. That could happen as well. So I don't know, but I just leave that, but it was not like, you know, like this big stress. It was just this kind of situation, and it was because of the, how to say, like the futures of the technological tools that I was using. So yeah.
You mentioned you work with teenagers, right? Um,
No, I work with preservist teachers,
oh, okay, okay.
but because they are preservist teachers, they teach to schoolers. They teach in a school to teenagers, because it's middle and high school.
So no direct contact there with the students.
Could you say again?
No direct contact with the middle school and high school students.
Yeah, no, because I was just observing them, not them, the class. So I was just there observing the classroom, and if because I was observing my student who was a preservist teacher, you know, and his environment is in a classroom with teenagers. So I will be in the same space with the teenagers who are my students, you know. So I would observe them, but I never interact with them because I was just observing the class. So yeah, I never interact directly with teenagers. No.
How did you find that COVID affected your students, the teachers?
Yeah, that was huge because I would say that that affect, is curious in two different ways. Last year on spring, commonly my students in spring, they are doing their internship. So they go every day to school to teach and to do teacher work. So last year in spring, they started going to the school face to face, like regular situations. Then the situation happens, schools have to go online and everything. That was a huge change for them, because they were learning. So it was, I would say that maybe it was traumatic in many different ways. First, because they couldn't experience the teaching environment completely, because they were with the students until I think it was until March. So they couldn't finish their internship, going to the schools every day, meeting with parents, that kind of teaching experiences that really makes you feel the teaching profession. So they couldn't leave as part of their preparation, they couldn't leave that part of the teaching completely. Second, because they were learning to be teacher, preparing, doing a lot of planning, they have to do a lot of planning and additional work for the licensure, so journals, everything. And then they have just to change to the online environment. So they have to learn how to do it. And at the same time, the schools were managing, and I think that the counties were managing all the situation, if they would go to meet, considering the parents' permissions, all of things, because there is this situation of having teenagers and children in a screen, So what will happen with the teachers? All the schools managing that situation. Even I think that maybe even starting with the platform. So they used to meet, for instance, with Meet, on that time, Meet had some limitations. For instance, they couldn't make group work. Zoom had breaking rooms. I think that Meet now have it, but before it didn't have it on that time. So they couldn't, and in the university, one suggestions that we commonly did is, okay, try to do grouping activities, so they had this in their, how to say, part of them, but they couldn't do it. And of course, we were very, very flexible and don't say, no, you have to do group activities if they couldn't, but those are those kind of changes for them, for their preparation. They have to just be really creative also about start thinking uh, how will you call the students' attention in this environment, because it's, if in a class, in a common classroom, when you are feeling the people, when you see someone moving, it's very difficult for the students, for some, or sometimes, to keep the attention in the teacher. That is one of the teaching skills, to cap the attention of all your students and have all your students with you in your class. In an online environment, when the student is all the time looking the same screen, it's very difficult. It's very difficult, and also because they are children, So one particularity of some children on early ages is that they can't keep doing the same activity more than 20 minutes, Depending on the ages, that time increases. So one of the things is that you must try like different kind of things and provide a variety of tasks. In this online environment, that 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 means that you need to know a lot of technological tools, but before you didn't come with that. So that was a huge change for them, that put, how to say, that asked them for a lot of creativity, fast learning. For them, for some of them, was like an advantage that they had learned a lot of these like pedagogical, technological tools in the university so they can use it, and even they can help other teachers to learn it fast. But it was a huge change for them. So it was, for them, was really hard. In spring, this spring was like the opposite, because okay, the students that I have this spring are different from my students from last spring, because my students in last spring graduate, now they are teachers. So, but my students on this just past year, they started in an online environment because they started in fall. So they started in an online environment and everything. For them, the change was the opposite. They were from online to face to face. In, I think that was April, May. So they for them, it was at the beginning, they start like managing classroom online and everything. They start having students in the classroom, and they face a very difficult challenge of having students online but face to face as well. So for instance, one of the recommendation was like, try to keep your online students and your face-to-face online students with you in your class. That is very, very difficult. But so in their cases, they used to do a lot of classes and design tasks online and try to provide asynchronous activities, make videos, that kind of things, to split the activities when they didn't meet in asynchronous sessions, on synchronous sessions, to go face to face and to leave the situation of having the students in there, and managing how their behavior, managing their behavior and that kind of things. So it was like the opposite as well. They leave that part of the teaching experience face to face at the end of their internship. So it was different. We always say to them that that we like that they didn't leave like his learning or teaching in that way, but it's the situation that we had. And the good part is that they learn a lot. They learn a lot about how to handle these uncertain situations as teachers, and they did a very good job on that. So, but it was hard for them. It was a lot of work to them, and I will say maybe yes, like a little bit traumatic. My students this year were very excited when they knew that they will have face-to-face students. They were like this kind of two feelings between scared but excited. So that was challenging for them. For us, I think that all of us will learn a lot with all this situation. But yeah.
Is there anything particular to Southwest Virginia that was challenging for you or for your students? That beyond the internet issues, obviously.
Are you talking about like the state? Is there something specific about Virginia?
Yeah, and being in the mountains too.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, because I don't know how that works in different states. I think that depending on the population and the places, for instance, in big cities, when maybe there are students who didn't have the sources, what happened here is that the schools, if the students didn't have the sources, the schools provided like the Chrome for students so they could work. I didn't know if that happened in other places, for instance, or if the students had some issues with it. Sometimes there were students that had issues with the internet, but I don't know the reason. I don't know if that were because they live in mountains, that maybe it has a bad signal or something like that. I can't tell.
Absolutely. Switching topics, did you get your vaccinations?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Painful after some hours. In the first one, I got the Pfizer. And in the first one, even I didn't feel the shot. It was here. And I didn't feel it in the first one. But some hours later, my arm, when I move, it was like, very painful. It's like you can do this, or you can do this, but it was like, painful, and I felt tired. With the second dose, I was scared because all the people that I knew, they become sick, have like a little of the feeling. So then my mom, I remember that she told me, okay, both medication for the fever and put water next to your home, next to your bed, and in case you get fever and you can put something. So I was like, yes, I know, because everyone that I knew becomes sick with the second dose. So I was thinking that maybe I become sick as well, but I didn't. Thanks God. I didn't. I just become like tired and I just slept a while, and that was all. I didn't get fever or sick or anything. Just the pain in the arm, because I asked and they told me that it's a muscular injection, and that's why it was painful in the arm. But that was all. Yeah.
Why did you decide to get the vaccine?
I will say, that's a good question. I think that one reason is, mm, like doing what I can do to to become the situation like more normal. I will not say to protect myself, because I understand that the vaccination is not a shield. It's just what the vaccines does is that if you got the virus will not kill you. You will not become such a sick as if you don't have the virus. Is what I understand. But as soon as I get it, and other people get it, then the virus will become like disappearing, or at least being less proportion outside. So first, to protect myself in case that, if I get it, it will not be so strong, but also like to help to become the situation better socially for everyone. Because if, for instance, if I don't get my vaccination, I could be one of the person who can, how to say, I can get it and then I can spread it out without knowing. Because that is the situation with that virus, that you can have it and you don't know that you have it. So then the situation will remain the same, and it was hard because we are social beings. Humans, we are social beings. So it was hard for many people. So it was like doing what you can do to regularize the situation again. So, and if that helps, not just to protect me, but also like to protect others, so I will do it.
Beyond the vaccine, how has COVID changed how you have gotten healthcare and gone to the doctor and things like that over the last year and a half?
Beyond, if COVID affect how I go to the doctor?
Mm-hmm.
Mm, let me think. I don't think so. Because when I needed to go to the doctor, I went to the doctor. It was just, the all the actions when I went to the doctor were different because they kept the the regulations. So first they ask you if you got sick or if you got fever, if you have contact with someone who has the symptoms, if you have the list of symptoms, and then you answer all of that, and they check your temperature, and they keep the face mask, and if they touch you, it's like a lot of things, and is this kind of, how to say, like, untrust is in the other, but any people can have with the other, because any people can be a danger to the other, so So then I think that just a dynamic, answering always, but it was not just to the doctor. Commonly it was if I go to different places, I have to answer the same 14 questions, and they check my temperature and everything, you know. So, but yes, if I needed to go to the doctor, I had it as any other moments. Yeah.
Beyond your family and beyond school, were there other organizations like churches, for example, or uh, other organizations that you're involved in that affected you or helped during the last year?
I used to go to Tansudu International Federation that has a group here in Virginia Tech, and but there were it was not just from the university; it was a group of people also in the New River. So I went to that to practice Tansu. So when COVID comes, we always met, but outside, and keep it a lot of distance between us. Just at the beginning, I think that we didn't meet at the beginning of everything. But then we start meeting, but always outside, keeping distance and keeping regulations to be safe. Also because it's some kind of contact activity. So, for instance, before the pandemic, we did some kind of movements when you have to touch the other. We didn't do these movements during the pandemic. Just what you can practice by yourself. So yeah, that was, and maybe that was a change. With the pandemic, that was a change. Um, as I told you, like the Latin situation, I couldn't meet with many people as before. So yeah, I think that's all.
Last section here. How have the current social movements of the last year and a half impacted your daily life?
When you say social movements, what do you mean?
Like the election or Black Lives Matter, the January 6th thing in Washington, D.C., things like that.
I was surprised, but how to say, those are situations that mm, happens. When you have, for instance, the movement, Black Lives Matter movement, happens uh, when people react to some kind of situation and justice situation. And right now, for instance, is what is happening in my country, in Colombia. I don't know if you have heard about the national strike, but that has happened, and that happens when just people react to social injustice that they are living. So I was surprised. What I say, I don't know. It's like I try to read about that and stay informed about that. One day when I was walking here in Blacksburg, it was a lady with an announcement about the Black Lives Matter situation. She wants just to be here. I hear her. Is how I could help, you know, and um but that is those situations. The only thing that maybe I can think is because of the I had to travel to Colombia. I had to travel I will travel in December, but because my mom got the COVID, so I had to move my travel to January. So I have to travel in January. And for those days were the presidential possession. So was the Washington situation. I don't remember, January 6th. I don't remember. But the issue is that my travel was 1 day or 2 days before the president like took his position. So Washington. So then, and my flight was from Dallas Airport in Washington. So I have to go to Washington, and I stay in a hotel. So my family told me, "Hi, be careful because of the situation that we saw in January 6th. So we don't know, and and it's very close to the presidential. I don't know how do you say that in English. Okay, that the situation from the president when he took care. So that must be dangerous, of course, because you think if that happens on January 6th, what could happen when the president takes possession of his role. So be careful, and you are alone. So, and I stayed in a hotel, and there were a lot of military people in there in that hotel, a lot. But it's just like other people. So just the only thing is that they were military, a lot of people, but it was just like other people in there. So nothing strange, nothing happens different. So that was the situation, and I don't know what else to say, but I just leave it in that way. Mm. In Colombia, is different. Is the situation is very different than what happened here. I am worried, sad because I can be in my country, helping with that. But I help in ways that I can from here. But yeah.
Is there anything you want to discuss that we haven't talked about yet?
Mm, let me think, please. No, I think that something that I would like to say is that I admire how people and how the university, for instance, try to adequate the conditions to make the things continue working. Despite the situations that are there. So it was like things didn't stop, and how and the importance of resources, because here, for instance, there were the possibility when the schools gave a Chrome to the students and gave the resources so they could continue taking the classes online. That situation, for instance, didn't happen in a country like mine because not many places didn't have internet. So, and there were not resources to give a student a laptop or a Chrome or something like that. So then that is to say, like, having the resources also help to manage this situation, but also people doing the best that they can, to manage the situations and try to provide like education, healthy. As I said, for instance, if I had to go to the doctor, I went. The service was not like canceled, So just adequate all the conditions to try to provide what people needs, you know. So I admire that. I think that is very, 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 very good things. And in my field in education, I attend, and I saw different efforts from different roles, different people to try to make things work, and to learn and work and help others with the conditions that we have, to stay there to support. For instance, my students, we try many things, and we try to show them that we were there for them if they need some kind of support. And that is really helpful when you are living a very hard situation, Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.